Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday, it's September 16th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And I've adjusted my channel. I've had an upward sloping channel for the most part all morning. If you saw the midday chart, I originally started it off those first two swings, catching it here, but it just didn't seem to be fitting. We kept going higher and higher, so I readjusted off these highs and that fits here. So we may have had a channel here with a break and a move to a new high, but I'm thinking we've got a two-tiered channel here with most everything in the upper tier because it's a very strong upward sloping trend. And this was the key to it all. When I posted the chart, we were just starting to touch this line. It still came into play. I'll show you how I originally had my line. I think I had it like something like that right there. So, and it does fit really nicely there, but I just cannot make it fit up here on the upper side to my liking. That fits pretty well across there. So there's always the possibility that we've got a bigger two-tiered channel that's going to look something like so. It still gets us, this is the target I was looking for right in here, possibly. So maybe that's what we're looking at. Maybe I had it right in the beginning, I just didn't have the channel big enough. But I'm going to take this one off for now, and you can see that these lines are definitely in play. We turned down after touching them. We're turning up after touching the midline. We turned up after touching this one. Um, we turned down every time we touched the upper one. There was a shorter term one here, so that's what I'm looking at. After this first leg up, once we started going higher again, you can see I measured that move, and then there's my target. And you can see we started finding resistance. The smart traders are all probably taking their profit there. We back up, and they give you another chance to get some more. They give you a couple more chances here. And until we either reach this upper side again or the trend changes, I'd still be looking for longs here. This is a strong trend, and it's just headed higher and higher. And this was my final target that I was shooting for, somewhere between 1993 and 94 area. So let's get rid of that. And then also, and you can see, let me show you how I found that. I didn't, here's your first leg up. And then, oops, and then your correction started from here. So that's how I get that target right there. So I hope that's clear. But notice that we had a little trading range here, a break lower, and then there was your measured move up to the next level. But it just kept on going and going. And there is a little two-tiered trading range working up through the middle here, and that's the reason I like that play right there. But let's talk about the trades. When I came in, prices were working lower. We're making lower highs and lower lows. There was a failed second entry long right there, and then this really is very similar to it tried to go higher again and then went up, and so it's almost like a little breakout pullback short. So I liked it. It's right off the trend line. Um, so I liked going short. It actually broke higher first, and then you get this little inside bar, and then it turned down. So I felt like we were probably headed down to test this area, maybe this low right here, and you can see we went just a little bit lower, and then it bounces. You get your break of your little short-term channel. You try to make a new low, but look what happened here. Let me make it a little larger. Prices broke lower first and then turned and went up the upside. Look how bullish. That's what I call a bullish reversal bar. You really could have gone long right above that bar. And what I would have done, or what I would, recommend is because it's, just have a stop. Since it went out the low side, you could have a stop. But if you want to be a little more conservative, put a limit order in there and see and you can see it would have come back and filled you. And then it just heads higher, and then you get the failed second entry short. Notice that new low, you're pulling back first entry, you're pulling back. There's your second entry short. Um, no reason to go short out of those little overlapping area right there, especially with this little trend line right here. And when it breaks higher here, then it pulls back and it bounces off of it. So that's a second entry long right there. and I like that. But you might have gone long right here. I didn't really like going long above that bar. When it broke higher, I liked dropping a limit order in there. And generally, you can get filled a tick or so back into this bar, and it looks like you could have gotten filled right back to that little close right there. Maybe one tick. That's actually two ticks back into that bar, and then it takes off. And you might have thought about entering here, but it's so close to that high, I think you're better off to back up a little bit. But you could have entered there, and it just, you don't know that it's going, I'm thinking you'll probably get to here or here and find resistance, but it just keeps going. And then it gives you a little two-legged pullback. Notice the new high, it pulls back, it tries to go up, it pulls back. If you go to a smaller chart, there's two legs back. This is not a perfectly bullish bar, but it's close enough. Just go long right there. You might try a limit order at the top or just below, and it pushes on up. Then it pulls back. You get a second entry long here, but realize what's going on. You just came off the highs. You're not back to the EMA. You're still making, you've got your little channel here. You have no close outside of it yet. And you really don't get a close outside to here. But it looks like a range now. And so you could have gone long here if you played the range, as long as you got in with enough room to scalp out before you get to here. Otherwise, okay, sorry, interruption, but I think we were talking about this trade right here. But anyway, notice it's right off that trend line, and it takes off. Good move, and now it's overdone. You just got to wait on a correction. This is where people get impatient. They see it going and they're afraid they're going to go without you. And if you'd entered here, it might have still worked. 79. Now, it would have been a 4-tick failure. Then it pulls back, unless you got in with a limit order and got a tick or so back in it. But just be patient, because it'll come back. It's too far away from the EMA. You don't want to enter a long that far away from the EMA. It could go much higher, but you never know. If you're just patient, it'll back up. And then guess what? It backs up right here. Pulls back to the shorter. There's a short-term trend line in there you can see, and there's really a midline in there too. I don't have it on there, but there's a midline right there. You can see it. Might be a little bit higher than that. And then it pulls back and it bounces. Again, it's a second entry, because if you went to a smaller chart, you'd see it. I liked it regardless, because there's no break of this trend line. It's bouncing right off the trend line. Look at it go. And then now you start correcting. There's a second entry long right here. But notice that, this is the first break of the trend line. So you want a really good setup to go long. And it is a second entry, but it's not a very good bar. You got a possible trend line here. You really may not have had that. There's a shorter trend one running down through here. But even if you were playing it, there's one running right down through it. That's the first break, so you're looking for a new low. But I believe there's a bigger channel in play here. If you looked, and we were headed to the other side. And you might have considered going long here, playing the short-term trend line and the channel. And notice that you get that little one-tick trap, and it turns up. You probably want to use a limit order. But even if you use a stop, that one works. And that would, when it starts getting in these little dojis, that's your clue that, hey, something's, it's really struggling here. I better get out. And then it turns back down. I don't think you can go short here. This thing's been too strong. And then you start bouncing right off this lower trend line. And even if you drew it like I originally drew it, it's still bouncing off of it. You pull back, you get a first entry, you pull back, and there's a second entry long right there. There's a double bottom. You got the trend line. You've had your break here and your new low, and 2 attempts to go lower. So I like that one to the long side. Looking for it to at least go here. Then it pulls back, and you got a failed second entry short right there. You're going long right at the highs, but with that trap and the final high being right there, I like that, because you figure you're going to make a new high even if there's a break of the trend channel, which I don't think there is at this point. It takes off. And again, you don't know that it's going to do that, but you figure you're going to get a scalp out of it. And so you were able to get a trend line right off these highs. That was fairly easy to find. You didn't know where it was down here, but you can get it off right there and then just copy it and drag it down, and guess where it bounces? And yeah, it's a first entry, but it's too small a channel to hardly get two legs. So, and the trend is really strong, and you're looking for a measured move that was up here. So take it. And really, if you're counting, you can count a double bottom as this being the new low or this being the new low. And so if you can count this one, there's a failed second entry short again there too. So I like that. You might have tried a limit order, but didn't buy. Even with a limit order, you can't get out before that high. But you got to recognize a strong trend when you see it, and you just won't get many opportunities to enter. So I went back and forth about this one being green, but really with it being right on the trend line and there being no break yet, I think you just about have to take that one. Um, no way you want to enter right here. Then again, if you're just patient, it backs up. And look, there's two legs back. You don't get a break higher here on this level, but there's a leg back, a little correction, and a second leg back, and look at it bounce off the EMA. Look at that big bullish bar. Just go long right there. And again, you're looking for it to come back up here, but it doesn't make it. It gets kind of hung up, and you got a little trading range here, a little failed breakout. If it had broke higher, I would have liked going along there, but then guess what? It breaks lower right here, turns up, and goes out the high side. So I like that, just having a stop right there. I actually used a limit order, but I think you could have used a stop and been just as good, and you still would have gotten out. But look, it's still going higher, right to the target I had talked about earlier. I don't think you want to enter here necessarily. You might have. It's two legs up, a little pull back, and so you could have. Okay, sorry, it's after noon. Everybody knows I'm usually done trading now, so the phone's ringing off the hook. But my guess is we're going to continue higher till we touch this line. You can see it's starting to weakening because we can't really get back up there. But I believe it may be partly because it's a little confusing as to what this channel really is here. I had a little bit of a difficult time determining it. So, but I wouldn't be surprised if we don't continue upward until we touch this line again. And that's usually what happens. You know, you go from one side to the other. It was really good trading there. There's not a, I mean, there's a good many trades here. There's not a lot of entries. Definitely not if you waited on second entries. But when you get a strong trend, you have to find these shorter term trend lines. And notice that one there. You got the close outside a new low, and off it went. You got the one moving back here. You got a break, pull back with a new low, and then it reversed again. And so even these little short-term corrections are all pretty much following the rules. So draw them. And you can also see here where you found resistance here at this was yesterday's high. And that's where you found this resistance at. Notice that green line, how prices are swinging back and forth.